I'm still on your Explore Scientific page.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
here, I just got an alert.
It's coming up live now, right?
I see it.
Yeah. So our microphones are live. They can hear us.
There's people already. Oh, I see two people already hearing us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The little eye there shows people.
Little eyeball. Yeah.
Yeah, the eyeball.
I know.
Hi, everyone, if you can hear us.
Yeah. We're hiding behind the screen, behind the curtain, so to speak.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Uh huh. So you got Antoine Grelin. Says, there we go. Steve Crowley, I can hear you.
Antoine. Yeah, Antoine. He's from Galactic Hunter YouTube's page.
Oh, wow. Jason Polance. Uh huh. Jay Murphy. Peter Visma. Rob Marcotte.
Oh, you already see them. Wow.
Yeah, I'm seeing him. We're about 15 seconds out. Antoine. Yep, hearing you well. That's good. It's good our microphones work.
You're right.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Scott Roberts here with Chuck Ayoub, and we are live on Explore Now. And it's a real pleasure to have you on. I know you don't do these things very often, so I'm really, really honored that you're on with us. And I wanted to introduce maybe some people will be watching this that don't know about you, Chuck. So we should probably talk a little bit about your background. Although if you're into astrophotography and you haven't heard of Chuck's, through Chuck's astrophotography and stuff, you've been hiding. This guy has had several Astronomy Pictures of the Day awards, other recognitions for astrophotography. He does an incredible job. And I think your jaw is going to kind of drop a little bit once he starts to explain where he lives, where he makes his astrophotographs from, and the possibilities of what an amateur astronomer can do in very compromised sky conditions. So, Chuck, let's maybe the thing I kind of want to know personally about you is when you get started. You wrote a little bit about to me about that you got started very young or interested in astronomy at a young age, okay, but didn't get a telescope until you were in your teens. But going back to that young age, what was it that you remember that kind of got you really interested in the stars?
Well, it's almost as far back as I can remember, but for some reason, I remember is being in junior high in a science class and just memorizing the planets out of a book. I don't know, something just caught my
Something
attention. I
clicked.
wanted to learn all the planets, and from there, it just grew from there.
Right,
And,
right,
I bought a telescope, and it just developed.
right.
And the only thing is, I wish I had known what was possible to do from my own backyard because I retired a long time ago, and I wish I could have had a bigger head start. I've only been in this hobby and taking pictures for 4 years.
Oh
I
my
had
God.
no idea what was going on. Yeah,
All right, so
it was
guys, don't be
amazing. I
jealous
couldn't
out there
believe
once
it.
he starts showing his images because he's very, very good at what he's done. But I think, Chuck, in order to be this good, you've got to be the kind of guy that really drills down into something and really works on it and works it to death. I watch your program on Chuck's Astrophotography on YouTube, and I saw you kind of wrestle over. It was the M27 image that I had on the announcement card, which is I think the first image you did with the new Explore Scientific ED 127 carbon fiber, and you were worried about one image, like whether or not you were going to include this one sub image in there in all of the images that you stack together, okay? And
Right?
someone that worries over that is definitely characteristic of someone that does precision astrophotography, someone that's really, really driven to squeeze every last ounce out of their system. So yes. So
Sometimes I don't even notice I'm doing that until I see it back on video. I'm like,
oh
oh, I am
really?
really picky, but it doesn't even occur to me that I am this way. It's funny when you rewatch it and you see how you
Yeah.
really are.
Right.
You know?
And at the end of all of his videos, Chuck's got a great sense of humor too, and he puts all of his outtakes. And I think I also watch it for the outtakes as much as I watch it for what I learned. So, and I admit I'm learning a lot from you and what you're doing with the equipment. So it's really fantastic. I've been in the telescope industry since about 1980, and I've had the opportunity to sit in with a lot of great astrophotographers, and yeah, you're certainly ranking right up there in the very top of them. So, um,
Thanks. You saw me fidgeting. My iPad is just gone dead. Can you believe it? I wanted
right.
to watch this.
No,
I
fire
thought
it
I was
back
pretty
up. Fire it
prepared.
back up.
Here's the first outtake. Okay, I think I got it.
Okay. So
All right.
I've got your. Let's talk about Chuck's astrophotography. I've got your screen here. I'll share it with them. Okay. So here we
Okay.
go, and I'll let you take it from here.
Sure.
And
Um,
if you want to delete or minimize my image up there in the corner, you could just click the X and get me out of there. So
I see you in the upper right for me. It seems like it's pretty good.
okay, up to you. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started this YouTube page almost the same time I started in this hobby. And the thing about this YouTube page is it was going to be a guilty pleasure. I was not going to tell anyone about it. I was going to use my first name only. I was not going to put myself in front of the camera. And I think it took one day for people to figure out who I was. All people need on the internet is a first name, and they got you. So, but now I'm happy that people seem to know who I am. And and the thing is, it's not just me. It seems like we all kind of know each other. So, and I just brought up this page for now
Right.
because I want to thank people for helping me reach 17,000 subscribers.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
really happy
awesome.
to get there, but I still need your help because my next goal, I'm thinking big, 1 million
1
subscribers.
million. So tell your
I,
friends.
I know I did the math. It's going to take me 92 years to get there, so we need to pick up the pace here, everybody. Help me out.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll have to have a big party when you hit 500,000, and then
yeah, that's right.
that's right.
That's right.
Hmm.
Yeah, but the one problem, though, I know that I see with my analytics is 99% of my viewers are men. So I'm missing the women and the young people. So that's beyond my grasp to figure out how to solve that problem.
Right. Right.
So,
Well, the thing I noticed kind of recently, Chuck, is that there's like this new generation of astrophotographers, and they're about between 25 and 35 years old. Now, what in the business, kind of what you see is kids from maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years old, kind of peaking up to about 8 or 9 or 10, getting really interested. And then they get in their teen years and they become more interested in social activities in school and all the rest of that stuff. And then they go to high school and then they go to college and then they start a career. It's not that
right,
they're not interested, okay? It's just that there's a certain cost associated with this, and it takes time. And so and so we would see them come back at about age 45. Okay. In fact, Galileo starts when he's 45. All right. And you mentioned that you retired in your 40s. So, and you're what, 46 now. So that's, right.
I'll go with that. I'll go with that. That works for me. Thank
So,
you.
right. So, but yeah, there's certainly a lot of them, and we definitely talk to women a lot that are getting involved in astrophotography. So I
Okay,
see that those are two
good.
growing fields. I hope they watch Chuck's astrophotography.
All right. So let's see here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move into this PowerPoint now.
Okay.
And I just learned PowerPoint for this meeting. So, so I'm
Okay.
20 years in IT. I never had to use PowerPoint. Can you believe that?
Ever?
Never had to use it. It's
You were
amazing. And I work for
lucky.
huge companies. I don't know how I got away with that.
Well, the guys that know how or did learn how to use it would put together these giant PowerPoint presentations, and we called it death by PowerPoint. So, but but yeah, this is a light pollution map that you got going on here.
That's right. A recurring theme in my YouTube videos is me complaining about light pollution. And so I thought I'd give people an idea of what it's really like for me. And I got this map from lightpollutionmap.info. And you can see everyone knows about the Bortle scale, 1 through 9, 1 being the best and 9 being the worst. And I wanted to show you, here is downtown Detroit, and I am about a 20-minute drive, actually less if it's a straight line, and I am right here over on Telegraph Road.
Wow.
So if you be here on the legend, I'm about as bad as it gets.
That's as
So
bad
I
as
just
it
wanted to let people know I'm
Yeah.
not making this up. It really is bad over here.
I mean, that is. I would never, as someone that would be suggesting to someone to get involved in astrophotography, I would never imagine that somebody could do anything of any quality at all from such skies. But,
Yeah, thank God for narrowband imaging, because that's what I rely on most. So and I wanted to give my friend Doug a shout out. He just bought a giant scope from me, or upgraded to one, and he's right up the road from me over in Taylor, and he's facing the same thing I am. So
right.
Doug
Oh my
Struble.
gosh! Wow. So
Yeah.
some of the best
Yep.
astrophotographers on the planet are in some of the most light polluted skies of the planet. I mean, that I can't. You really can't get much worse. So you're estimating that you're like Bortle, what, 8.5 in that range? Is that right?
That's what I'd say. I think I'm even off this grid here, because this doesn't count the next door neighbor's lights that I'm surrounded with.
Oh,
I mean, I can count the hairs on the back of my hand when I'm in my yard.
Oh, wow. And you
The,
can't
the lights are
those guys
extreme.
don't turn off their lights, huh?
Yeah, I don't know them well enough to ask them. One of the guys behind me, he's always out there with his pellet gun taking target practice or throwing an axe. It's not a guy I want to approach. That's okay.
Yeah. Shotgun works, but
Yep.
you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah, that's what I'm dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody knows. A lot of people are familiar with my backyard. And one time Dustin Gibson, he flashed up all of my rigs. Yeah. And before he said it was my picture, and someone said, "That's Chuck's backyard." So I think
he knew it.
they knew it. Yep, that's right.
Right.
And
gosh.
so I just wanted to show you all of the rigs I capture with. And a common question I get is, which one do you like best? And it's not a question I can answer, because there's no redundancy here. They all have their own purpose.
Right.
This is the new Explorer Scientific FCD 100. Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm like
doing some amazing work with it already. So.
Yeah. Yep. I'm liking it, and this is what I use for long focal length to get close in on galaxies or close in on nebulae.
Okay.
And the next rig, number 2, is another deep sky rig. It's my Rasa. And the reason, though, I have 2 deep sky rigs, as I've told many people this, is I've had so much success with a 127mm from your company. I absolutely refuse to take it off my mount. There's just no way that's going to happen.
Gosh, thank you.
I've had APODs. All the magazines I've ever been in have been with this scope. So it's just, there's no way. So it actually cost me money. Since I leave it there, I still wanted to do wide field, and that's why I have a second deep sky rig. So.
Wow.
Yep. Wow. So I love that scope, and everybody knows I do.
Let's talk about the Rasa a little bit. That is, it's got the camera up front on the secondary area, and this gets a huge wide field. How wide how much area of the sky is it covering with that camera?
I think it's close to 2 degrees, I think.
Huge field. Yeah.
About 4. What would that be? About 4 full moons, I think.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like that. And when I first started using it, a lot of people were asking me, why is it pointing to the ground? They're just not used to seeing a camera in front.
Right.
So that That's a change, and it does hold focus really well. So
Oh, yeah.
it was contributed by Celestron. So thank you, Celestron. I've enjoyed it ever since I started using it. So
Mm-hmm.
and the first two rigs are the ones I use every time there's clear skies. They're both outside right now, waiting to get started up.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And my next rig is a duo solar scope. My Explore Scientific AR-102 when I want to get really close in on the sun.
Okay.
And on top of that, that looks like a guide scope, but it's a dedicated solar scope from Daystar. And that's when I want the full disc.
I see. I see.
And
Yeah,
I was
we've
going to
had a
tell you,
few
I was
guys.
actually thinking about upgrading to your AR-152, but I changed my mind. This scope is really doing the job for me. So I'm really happy with it. And I bought it actually from Doug Struble. He ran out of
Oh,
time. He's too busy,
I
and I took it
see.
in his hands. So, and then the rig, the last one here is what I use. It's my Eta C. That's what I use for the
Yep.
moon and planets, and that scope does really well too.
Yeah, great images through that scope. All of them, so as we're going to see here, I think. So,
Yeah.
hmm
So here it is. This is probably the most long-awaited picture I ever captured because when this scope arrived, I had 8 or 9 days of bad weather, and everybody kept asking me when or how do you like your new scope? And I said, well, I can't use it.
right. Well, there's some equation somewhere where if you get a new piece of equipment like that, and how anticipated it is how many cloudy nights you're going to have. So,
Yeah,
it
yep.
could be a long
And it's
wait if you
probably
really
true.
wanted it.
That's right. That's right. I believe it. Yep.
It's true. It is absolutely
Yep.
true.
Yep. And it's the Dumbbell Nebula. Everybody knows the Dumbbell Nebula.
Sure.
And it's a planetary nebula with one star in the center here that's oozing out all that material.
Oh, yeah.
And it's captured in narrowband, of course,
Yeah.
HA and oxygen. And what I like most about this picture is a lot of people were commenting on my stars, wondering how did I pull off true color stars without even using RGB data. So it's a new technique I'm trying out. I don't know if it'll work every time, so I'll have to see.
It looks like it's working pretty good here.
Yep, and it's the first object I captured with the new scope, and I just wanted to mention with the new scope it's the only one I've captured so far. But the last 2 nights, this scope has not lost focus. I turned off my autofocus just to test it, so it's true, I guess, what they say about carbon fiber, about it not expanding, contracting. But you would know
Yes.
more about that.
Well, carbon fiber, uh, if you in a lot of the telescopes that you'll see, like some of the more really expensive, like the RC telescopes and stuff, you'll see that the trusses, these open tube designs, they're made from carbon fiber. There's a couple of ways to present carbon fiber in a telescope. One of them is in the way that we do, where it's lacquered, and it's got a nice finish on it. It looks beautiful. Um, the other way is maybe more professional, where you do not treat it at all, and it looks kind of ugly. Okay, actually, the lacquer itself can contract and expand slightly, but these are, I'll point out that all of the amateur telescopes, although some amateurs have some giant telescopes, most amateur telescopes are small. They cool down, they equalize fairly quickly. But the metal tube ones, you can definitely see the focus change, So I don't know how often you would have to touch up. I mean, you could tell me, how often did you have to touch up the focus on your ED 127, the white tube one?
Um,
Metal.
Sometimes it would go an hour, sometimes longer. And I had the autofocus set for 75 minutes on that one.
I see.
So,
I see.
yep.
So it would go and touch
That
it up
seemed to
by
work out.
itself. I see. Which is awesome that you have
But if I
autofocus.
can turn off autofocus entirely, that does save a lot of time when I can squeeze in a few more images per night. So I tested it the past 2 nights. I woke up in the morning and checked the focus, and it was all good. So I like what I see so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Let me go on to this next one here. This is with my old ED-127, and this is the Elephant Trunk Nebula.
Beautiful.
And I posted this. If you want to check out this article from Live Science, there would be elephant trunks in space. This is a recurring shape in space. You see this over and over again. And to this day, this is still the most popular picture I ever posted online. I captured it a year ago. But I'm showing it here because I want to show you something. ZWO just sent me their 2020 calendar. I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah, I see it.
The elephant trunk is Miss
Wow,
March.
that's awesome.
I got a kick out of that. Yep.
Yeah, well
So,
deserved, man. Congratulations.
yeah, I'm going to leave it on March all year.
Yeah.
All right. Let me go on to the next one. This is the last one here I'm going to show you with my old ED-127. So despite my light pollution, it is possible to capture
Oh
galaxies. I
yeah.
don't want to act like it's not possible to do broadband. You just have to keep your exposures very short and capture a lot of them.
Yes.
So, and that's the Needle galaxy.
So when
This
you
is a really bright galaxy. I love edge on galaxies.
when you say short, how short is each exposure? Like in
I
this example?
you see, I try to go without a light pollution filter in front of my RGB filters, and so I keep my exposures down to 30 seconds each.
I see.
And that means you're going to have a lot of files, and you're going to lose a lot of time per night because Sequence Generator Pro has a lot of settling time in between pictures. So
I see. I,
it takes a long time for me to finish a galaxy.
wow.
I think I've only captured three of them this year, and I just went right back into nebulas.
And this is over 10 hours of almost 11 hours of
Yeah,
exposure.
10.9 hours. Yep.
Wow.
And it's just a lot of fun. It takes a long time to process and crunch
That's
through and stuff
spectacular.
that
It
data.
really is. I mean, if you know, you should. I don't know if you have a photo of what your backyard looks like with the light pollution. You know, like a just an all sky shot. It'd be interesting to see just for comparison. Certainly the light pollution map says a lot. You know, so
I was gonna show you what it's like in my backyard, but I didn't want to show my neighbors' houses and what they're doing to me. I didn't, just in case. I want to be on the
no,
safe
they
side.
don't want that. That's right.
You just never know.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't want anyone coming after me, not the
Mm,
guy with the pellet gun.
that's right. Yeah, pellet guns hurt, man.
Now here is a wide field shot with the Rasa, and I always like the Wizard Nebula. I have a close up of it with the 127, but if you can see here, there's like a little tail of nebulosity going past
Yeah,
it. I really like that how it looked in the rich star field. So
right.
that's what I wanted to do with the second rig. Just have one just for wide field shots.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now
And
with this setup with the Rasa, you're using different filters. So I guess you shoot just with one filter on. You don't have like a filter wheel on this particular rig. So
right,
you must take
right.
it off, refocus, shoot another night, collect more data, and until you're satisfied with how much data that you have. I
Yeah, that's right. I'm using a mono camera, and so it takes a
yeah.
lot of planning how you're gonna, use those filters. Do you want to switch in the middle of the night to a new filter, or do
Okay.
you just want to image one object and move on to the next so you don't have to keep switching? A
Right.
lot of people prefer to use one-shot color cameras with the Rasa.
I see.
So, but I already had an extra mono camera. That's why I went this route. But if I started over from scratch, I'd probably go with the one-shot color to avoid manually switching filters.
I see. I see.
Yep,
We're getting
yep.
lots of
I
great
actually just
comments
did that
here, by the
last night. I
way.
sneaked out at about 2:30 a.m. to switch filters. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right.
So, were you going to say something that interrupt you?
No, I was just saying that we've got a lot of people who've commented and are saying hello, and
Oh, I can't see the
they
comments. I'm
are.
sorry. I'm not seeing them.
I see them. And they're Jason says he's learned a lot from you watching videos, and thanks both of
Great.
us. Uh, Carlos Hernandez, hello Chuck and Scott. Love Chuck's deep sky images, very detailed and colorful. Um,
Thank
uh, you know, I spent a lot of money from watching Chuck's videos. Yeah, I bet you have. I started the same year as Chuck. This is Doug. Oh, Doug's watching. Great astrophotographer. We sort of grew together in this hobby, and lots of sweet sweat and tears. And
Right.
Chuck has
Yep.
some great, or Doug has some great astrophotos. He really does. Um, uh,
Doug just got a centerfold on Sky and Telescope he was just showing me today. So
Oh,
congrats
yeah.
to Doug.
Yeah, congratulations, man. Rob Marcotte, how's the new ED-127 FCD working out for you? I think that's, you can see from some of these images. Gary Palmer from the UK is joining us. People who watch this show regularly, Charlie Walsh is on.
Hey,
Uh,
Charles, Gary, I know those guys. Yep.
Dusty Haskins, John Brueggemann. Thanks for these live events. Great stuff. Yeah. So anyway, we love all of you that are watching right now. This is great. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. And I'll let you.
I,
Wow.
I wish I could see your comments, but from my perspective, I'm not seeing them. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
hi,
Yeah.
everybody.
Right.
All right, so here is another one with the Rasa wide field shot on the Seagull.
Wow.
And this is probably my favorite Rasa image. I just loved how colorful it came out from edge to edge.
Yeah.
And the head of the Seagull is a star forming region, so I may come back to that with more focal length and capture that one too.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really cool area to capture.
Let me ask you a question. I mean, how do you know when to stop collecting data? I mean, you just kind of get to a point where you just go, I've done all I can do.
Yeah, that's
you
a
know?
tough one because I was just laboring over that the other day because I had 3 hours of HA on this one target and 3 hours of sulfur. And I know it's bright, and I didn't stack the data to know how it looked. I procrastinated, and I think I had enough, but I went out the next night and captured a little more data for it anyway. So it really, for me, I just have to stack the data ahead of time and see if it looks good and check out the noise level in it. If it still looks very grainy, then I know I have to keep capturing more.
I see.
But a lot of times you can look at a single sub. If it's a bright object, you don't have to capture too much. It would be overkill.
Sure.
So,
got it.
but
Okay.
stacking ahead of time definitely helps.
Excellent.
And let me see. Here is my solar setup. And this is with the AR102.
Wow.
I turned the volume down on my clock. I hope you're not hearing it. So
It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah. And this is with the AR102. And I really like how this is performing. I was thinking about getting your 152, but now I'm going to stick with this one. It's manageable on my AVX, and I'm really happy. This is a sunspot from last year.
Mm-hmm.
And this next one here is with the Solar Scout on top. It takes me farther out, but I can fit the whole disk of the sun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and now let me show you. I'm going to flip back if you don't mind. I want to go back to YouTube.
Sure.
And this is the one I've got my fingers crossed.
Wow.
Yeah, this is captured with the AR102.
Yeah.
And it's in the running right now for a NASA APOD. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it becomes one. This is probably nearly 3 Earths high. And I knew I was capturing something good here. The seeing conditions were really good. I was staying in focus. So
it's awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the interaction. It's so dynamic. It's definitely we have if you don't think that the universe is living, just look at this. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, let me show you one more while we're on my YouTube page here. I did a live stream of me capturing. Oh shucks, it went into let me just click skip ad here.
All right.
I was showing this on a live stream, and you can see what it looked like in a live stream. You can't really see anything moving. Watching the sun is like watching the hour hand on a clock. Yeah. So it's why you have to create a time lapse to see all that cool movement.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the sun. And let's see here.
Ansel from Los Angeles is saying, your clock's classical music adds to the grandeur of these images. That's why he has it, Ansel.
Who says that?
Ansel Puri.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oh, and there's the moon I captured with my 8SE.
Wow.
Yep. And one more thing with the 8SE. I wanted to go back to my YouTube page here.
Sure.
And this is what it looks like when you capture Jupiter on an 8SE. You get that little bit of a wobble because of I'm using an Alt-Az mount.
I see.
So I'm gonna stick a wedge on there and try and get away from the wobble, and so it doesn't look like a weeble wobble. So that's my next project. Actually,
Right.
I have a wedge in the basement that I can put with the alt-az mount. So,
Uh-huh.
and actually, that's all I had to show you.
That's okay. Well, the show's done. No,
That's something
it
from
was
all my
wonderful.
rigs.
It was wonderful. I maybe we should. I'm not getting a lot of questions here because I think everybody's just kind of stunned. But question I have for you is if you are if you're looking at getting started. I mean, and I'm sure you get these questions all the time, Chuck. But how do you recommend someone get started to to learn how to make precision fine astrophotography like you've done?
Oh, you know what? I would absolutely look online. There's Cloudy Nights, beginners forums. See, I took the hard path, and I didn't do my research when I first started, and I ended up spending a lot of money that I really didn't want to spend because I just didn't know what to do. I thought a bigger telescope was the best thing you could do. But really a long focal length gets you in a little too close sometimes. But maybe you should start off with something that's more wide field, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just making a lot of mistakes early on. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
and
those,
I see other people suggesting, start off with just a simple DSLR and a star tracker. Don't even go with the telescope yet to see if you really like getting into this hobby. So,
get a taste of it. That's right. Yeah,
yeah.
because there's a lot to learn. You have to not only learn how to set up the equipment correctly, you have to learn how to have patience and perseverance, and then the image processing. So capturing the data, image processing that data, which is also another very huge learning curve because there's so much great image processing software out there. What are some of your favorite image processing platforms? What do you like to use?
Oh, in terms of PixInsight or Photoshop or
Yeah, those things.
that's I'm definitely those are my main two. I do most of my processing in PixInsight,
Hmm.
and if I want a little bit of color touch-ups, I use Photoshop.
I
But
see.
it's mostly just PixInsight. That
Very
does all the I stack, batch pre-processing. It's all there in PixInsight.
right,
Yeah,
right. We have some
yeah.
questions here too. We got somebody. Chuck, do you use a focal reducer with your 127?
I have in the past, but I want to take advantage of its full focal length, so I'm just using a field flattener right now, a Hoe Tech.
Okay, all right. And it says, what are Chuck's most used filters? This is from Bergman Scooter.
Well, definitely narrowband. I was using Astronomic before, but Optolong has asked me to try out their filters, and so I have the full Optolong filter set now, so I'm trying those out. But still, I prefer imaging with HA, oxygen, and sulfur
Mm-hmm.
for now,
Mm-hmm. Okay. All
just
right.
to fight off that light pollution.
Uh, David Gibson, he's asking, with that solar quark, does a doublet work better than a triplet?
Um, well, I was always told that doublet is all you need for solar system objects. I have no idea what a triplet would do for me.
Yeah, I think it
I think
would
a
be
doublet is, in fact, the very good astro imagers for solar are using doublets. So I think that pretty much tells you all you need to know. Stick with the doublet. You'll
right.
save some
Yeah,
money.
don't spend the extra money on a triplet. Here's from a
Yeah.
guy who sells a lot of triplets. So,
Hmm.
but we also have the doublets too. Doug Struble. Okay, let's see. Um, Richard Lighthill is asking which HA03 filter brands would you recommend? I think you already answered that. Let's see. What are your usual exposure times when shooting nebula? This is from Antoine.
Antoine. I go with 4 minute exposure times, and it really comes down to more about what readout am I going for. If I want to say a 8 or 900 ADU, I'm going to use the exposure time and the gain setting to get me there. And for right now, I would say for HA and sulfur, a 4 minute exposure at gain 139 will get me to that 800 or so ADU average. And for oxygen, a 4-minute exposure at gain 75 will get me there. So you just have to sort of look at your histogram and have an idea of how high you want to take your mean readout.
I see.
And that will determine how much of a exposure time you need.
David is saying, newbie question. With your solar setup, do you bin? I have an ED 102 and I'm looking at an ASI 83 mm, but it looks like the image scale works out to 0.69, and I heard it should be between 1 and 2.
Well, I do bin for all of my solar imaging. I have binning set at 2 for everything, just to keep the file size. Well, actually, I do it to keep the frame rate low. I'm on a fast frame rate to get as many frames as I can in over a 10 or 12-second period.
Uh-huh.
And if you're binning 1, it's your imaging becomes a lot slower. So the more frames you can get in a short period of time, the better, I think. So binning 2 works for me.
Right. Does Chuck grade each sub and only use the A graded subs? I would say that's true.
I eyeball every single sub, but I don't grade them with the tools and picks in sight.
I
If you
see.
have enough experience, you can really tell good subs from a bad sub. And I just go through each one in blink, and it's pretty easy to determine the good from the bad.
Gary Palmer, actually, Gary Palmer's watching the show right now, and he's going to be on Friday, okay, with showing some solar imaging and perhaps sharing some image processing with us. Gary's asking, if you live in a light polluted area, do you find air quality is bad for solar imaging? I used to find this on the outskirts of London.
You know what? That really surprised me. Seeing conditions started off really bad for a long time, and I was really surprised. I thought, okay, I have to deal with light pollution, but that's not going to be an issue for solar imaging.
Hmm.
And yet, I had some really bad days. But the past couple of times I've been out, for some reason, have been really good. Don't ask me why. But I do notice I have really terrible conditions for solar, and that did surprise me.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't know it from seeing
Yeah.
the time lapse image that we just looked at. So pretty
I say
spectacular.
thanks to Gary. He helped me out with the solar issue that I was spinning my wheels on last year. So thank you, Gary.
Oh, okay, well that's
Gary knows
cool.
his stuff when it comes to solar.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
And Ansel's saying, with so much exposure time, have you had any trouble with Starling Streaks, which is worrying a lot of amateur astronomers right now? Have you run into that, Chuck?
I have not been hit in a single sub with Starlink.
Hmm.
And but I do see people, they post their subs and what it looks like in their subs, but there's a lot of worry over that. But the way I see it is, unless Starlink shows up in every single sub in the exact same position, they're going to get averaged out. So I'm not concerned at all by it. So
Right.
I think it's a lot of hype for nothing, but that's just my opinion.
Well, that's yeah. And plus, I have heard that Elon Musk is changing the way the reflectivity of those
I heard
satellites.
about that.
So which
Yep.
is much appreciated if you ever watch this program, Elon. That's great. Um, uh, uh, let's see. Doug Struble says created more bad seeing with heat coming off the roofs. Now you're just rolled out on your driveway, right? I mean that's where you
Right
are.
in
So
the backyard.
you
Yeah, in
got a
front of the garage.
garage,
Yep.
you got your house on the other side, you've got other neighbors' houses around you. So heat
Right.
rising off of buildings
Right.
is a big problem.
That is a big problem, especially for the sun. But usually the sun is really almost straight up,
Yeah.
when I'm imaging it. So I don't worry too much about that. But it is a problem. I even heard imaging off of the cement is a problem.
Yeah.
Heat rises off of the cement. So
Sure, sure.
yeah,
I'd
and
say
that
you know what the biggest problem is not getting out and doing it anyways, So that's the biggest problem and figuring out how to get around it,
yep.
So and so that's comes back to what you're doing, and it's awesome that you're here showing us what can be done in very, very compromised conditions. So. Um, uh, Steve Crowley says, "How did you pull your Hoe Tech apart?" I don't know what that's in relation.
Oh yeah, that's a tough one because Hoe Tech has a built-in self-centering mechanism,
Okay.
and this is not going to be nice what I say, but it's absolutely dreadful. When you put it on, it's almost impossible to take off. And so what I did when I
Oh,
finally got it off, I had to rip it apart. It was very clumsy how I did it, but if you rip off the self-centering mechanism, you'll find it's threaded underneath, and you can turn it into a threaded flattener.
oh, I see.
Doug did the
Which is
same
what
thing.
everybody
Yeah.
wants. I'm finding out. So, right, right.
It's not easy, but it can be done. However, you got to get it off. Use a vise if you have to.
Right. Oh, you can use maybe a pipe wrench or whatever. So
I've seen those. That Doug might have done that method. Yeah.
could have. Paul Owen is asking, if you were in dark skies, would you still do narrowband or more broadband?
Oh, absolutely. I'd do broadband.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not capturing a lot of objects that I'd like to in my area.
Right. Right.
Yep.
You may be here all night answering questions, Chuck.
I wish I could see what's
People
going
want to
on.
know. Okay. Raymond, you asked, is there a 1.0, or I guess you're asking me a zero power field flattener for the ES127. There is a new one that's coming out that we are field testing right now. So give us a little bit more time before we bless it and send it on its way. But yes, we're working on it.
You have a
Uh,
point 0.7 or flattener
I have a
or
point
reducer.
seven.
You have
I
a
have a point
reducer.
seven, and it's it's large aperture, and yes, but a lot of people are wanting to do maybe. In fact, Doug Strubel's one of them. He'd like to have a zero power field flattener for that, and so we're
Right,
working with
right.
him
I
on
was
that.
talking
And
to Doug
he wants a
about that.
thread on
Right.
type, and our type slides in. Um, so that's the deal. Um, Regarding your PixInsight workflow, do you perform noise reduction before or after stretching the histogram? And which method of noise removal do you prefer? Hmm.
Oh, I do it after I do the histogram. My workflow is all over the place, but it's definitely after the histogram, and I think I do it multi. I can't remember his long name. Multi-scale linear transform. I have a really unique way of doing things. I create a really a mask that will let me sharpen, and then I invert the mask to let me denoise. It's a different kind of process, but it's probably different than what most people do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Peter's asking, he says, when capturing data over multiple nights, are you able to leave your rig set up outside without moving it? Or do you take it in and set it up the next night and do your polar alignment all over again?
Yeah, actually, my rigs have been out 3 nights in a row because we've had good weather, so I can skip polar alignment when I do that. I just throw a tarp over them. I was
Yeah.
actually going to show you a picture of my tarps because they're tarped right now, so
Okay.
I can skip polar alignment tonight because I left them out. But I definitely have to stay home if I do that. You
Right.
know.
Now, Chuck, you've told me you like to stay home a lot. You said you're somewhat of a homebody, which is totally understandable during this pandemic.
I'm notorious for that. I haven't been to a star party. I don't go to Astro meetings. I don't care. I just like to image from my backyard.
Right?
I
You
skip all
spend
the
more time
extra stuff.
imaging that way. That's true. But Ray Del Silvestro wants to know, what scope do you travel with, if with any? With any scope. You don't travel with these.
I don't travel. Sorry.
There's your answer.
Well, the thing is, I love to leave my rigs set up, and I don't like to take them apart, which is another reason I don't like to go to a dark site. They're good the way they are. All I do when I move them in and out, I put these wheels under the tripod and just wheel them in and out of the garage, and they're good to go.
Right. Yeah, you can kind of see the setup there with the wheels and everything. But
Yeah,
you pull those wheels off, I guess, when you're
right.
polar aligned, right?
As soon as I do polar alignment, right before that, I take the wheels off, do my polar alignment, and start imaging. Yep.
And how long does that take you normally?
A polar alignment
Yeah.
or total amount. A polar alignment only takes maybe less than 5 minutes with PoleMaster. So
Yeah. So you're done. Okay.
yeah, and rolling them out is pretty quick. And you wouldn't believe it, but those wheels are probably the product people ask me most about. Where do
Right.
you find those? They're
Where
just
do you
called
find
dolly
them?
wheels, and you can find them on Amazon for $6 or $7 each.
That's right.
Everybody who makes a tripod or a mount should sell those as an accessory. Everybody seems to want them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So maybe you could make them, Scott.
And try to compete with $6 or $7. I would probably say
Oh, that's a
buy them
tough
on
one.
Amazon, folks.
Not, yeah,
Yep, there's
that's a
some
tough
guy
one.
making zillions of them. Um, yeah. Let's see. He says, Jared Watson wants to know, have you tried median kappa sigma clipping?
No, I don't even know what that is. I have used very basic processing stuff. So
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. Um, let's see. And people saying they love traveling. I do too. Uh, Ray wants to know, Silvestro wants to know, how can we contact Chuck with setup questions or rig recommendations? I would say the place to do it would be on Chuck's astrophotography on his YouTube channel, so
yeah, good spot. I'm so backed up with comments. I wish I could answer everybody, but that's probably your best bet.
yeah,
I try and get through all the comments, but sometimes it's not easy.
yeah, right. Okay. Well, I think that we're kind of winding down here. Is there, Chuck, is there anything that you want to say in closing here at all? I mean, it's been fabulous having you on. We've already been on for over 45 minutes. It goes by very quickly. The images were beautiful. I really appreciate your time in doing this. Because I think you'd probably like to be out there getting ready to do your imaging run. So, um, but uh,
Oh,
thank,
thanks for inviting me, Scott. I
thank
had a lot of
you,
fun doing this. This is
thank you.
great. And everybody, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Chuck's Astrophotography.
That's right. Yeah, he needs to get up to at least 500,000 by the end of
At
this
least
month.
500,000.
Right. And by 2021, we need it to be a million subscribers. So, all
I
right.
need
Well, thank you
years,
very
a little bit
much,
too for me.
Chuck. Thank you so much, man. And we'll be in touch. Okay. And for all the
All
rest of
right.
you guys, keep looking up. And our next program is Friday, this Friday at 6 p.m. Central. And Gary Palmer is going to stay up really late at night over there in the UK, and he's going to do a live program with us. So maybe you want to check in on that, Chuck. So
Yeah, definitely.
take care. Take care,
All right.
everyone. Bye bye.
Thanks, Scott. See you later.
Good night.